Hey, good to see you guys again. Today, how's this? Carving this rustic spoon. Kind of got this twisted, gnarled look to it with a kit. Flexcut makes this. Look at this, nice cherry handles, nice blade. We're gonna test out the kit and just make a nice little basswood spoon. Kind of inspired by nature. I think I'm standing in poison ivy. Oh yeah, see? Nature. All right, let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today is late summer, very, very nice out here. In the high 70s, warm, sunny. Gotta love that. Take what you can get in Michigan. So today, trying out this spoon carving kit. This is cool because, first of all, nice knives. A couple of nice knives here, American made. Cherry handles. Basswood is included. If you don't have that, I can give you some dimensions. Whoa, right off the bat. Looks like we've got about a 7.5 inch piece of basswood by about 2 1/8, well, 2 3/4 inches wide. So you can cut out something like this. The bowl length itself is about 3 inches from top to the base where the spoon or the bowl meets the handle. So I am not a sloyd carver by any stretch, but I love the occasional spoon carving. Spoon carvings to me represent an amazing little gift to folks, loved ones around the holidays or birthdays, because it's a useful thing that, again, just a great thing to gift someone because they can admire it in their drawers when they use it. Basswood is not the most durable for this, so this is a little more on the decorative side, although you still could oil it and use it. Basswood is a non-toxic material, so you could absolutely go ahead and use that. So let's crack this open and get started. Okay, so one thing that this kit has is some instructions, and we're not going to use those, although it is a good reminder about spoon carving, and I often break these rules because, again, I'm not a legit sloyd spoon carver. Anyway, just analyzing what's in the package here. Looks nice, good basswood. I'm interested to see how that carves. It feels nice and light. These tools, our hook knife looks pretty good. Got a pretty nice edge on there. Got a strop here as well. Well, actually I did, I gotta go grab it. And then I've got my knife here, which looks to be covered in some sort of wax. Let's see how easy that is to take off. Yeah, okay. Oh boy, that's sharp. Man, I just bumped the edge. That is sharp. Okay, it seems that this knife is even sharper than the hook knife, although both are nice and sharp. Interested to try those out. I like the taper here. There's a nice bevel. Goes from close to the back to the front, and there's a secondary bevel here, which will give it a little extra rigidity, but it's nice that they included a longer bevel. Same thing here on this knife, a pretty decently long bevel on this sloyd knife, which I like to see. Let me go get my strop. Okay, so I'm surrounded by nature out here, and I feel like that is going to be the inspiration for this piece. It's going to have some natural elements. It's going to be kind of rustic looking, and I want it to look as though it's a tree branch growing into this bowl. So typically you'd start with a bowl, right? So we can go ahead and do that, and the idea is to keep a nice little border around the edge here as not to carve and disturb this flat section. At least that's the way that I'm going to go about it. So I'll kind of draw, I don't know, a 1/4 inch border around the whole thing. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just to remind yourself to stay away from the edge. I just want to give myself a little extra room to breathe here. Okay, just like so. All right, so I'm going to start with my hook knife, and a great idea to have a carving glove, especially when you're holding the piece of wood that you're carving. Okay, so far so good. Okay, I gave it a little bit of a stropping. It seems like it needed just a little bit of a stropping. Did that off camera. I just used my little guy here to kind of come in and catch that inside bevel. And then you can do the outside bevel as well. Boy, not like that. I almost dug the thing in. There we go. You can actually even hold the strop and move it around. Might be the easiest way, although again, I'm not a pro with this sort of thing, sharpening these specific tools. I'm more accustomed to gouges. I work with gouges every day. Oh yeah, that's much better. Just needed a little polishing. All right, so I'm starting by creating scooping motions towards the center of the bowl. Short little strokes. I don't want to take too much off at once, because the bigger the cut, the more that I try to remove at once, the more dangerous it becomes and the more likely I am to cut myself. So just take a little bit at a time and make sure that you've got a tool that's nice and sharp. Learning how to strop is a necessity, absolutely a necessity. And this wood is behaving pretty well. Okay, yeah, nice. So I'm just taking my time working my way around the bowl. Moving towards the center here. It's looking pretty good. Coming in, carving that bowl. Gosh, that is so satisfying. Yeah, this is a nice tool. This is cutting cleanly. It did need a little stropping, which is unusual for Flexcut, but it could just be a fluke of this tool. But yeah, that's cutting. It's cutting pretty nicely. All right, so now I'm going to make some cuts around the back side of the bowl, and just taking my time here. Oh my goodness, wow, that's a nice knife. This is really the shining star of this set. I can already tell you that. Yeah, wow, that is a fantastic knife. You can hear those leaves falling. Oh my goodness, you can already sense fall. Autumn is coming. Right, so I'm just going to start taking the corners off, and when I'm doing this, I'm really controlling my thumbs. It's important to use the thumbs to kind of gauge or kind of resist the tool. Right, I don't want to just have my hands unconnected. I want to have them connected, so that if I slip, my hands stop against my other hand and protects the knife from digging into my skin. So I'm always trying to keep those in contact with one another if I can. Notice how even when I'm pushing, I'm using both hands together. I'm really trying to avoid any cuts that are directly in the path of my fingers. That's where things get really dangerous. So far, I'm really liking this knife. The basswood is pretty nice. It's relatively soft, but it's hard enough to seem as though it'll hold up pretty well. So that's good. Just kind of slowly working my way around. You know, carving is absolutely for the patient, so allow yourself a little time to round this bowl. But man, that is cutting well. Happy with that. Really excited about this handle. I think that's when things are going to get really interesting. My plan for it is to kind of create this tree branch type effect, and the goal is to have this sort of meandering kind of organic shape to it. It kind of maybe it comes down like so, maybe it comes up a bit, down again, but really just maybe even up again, just a little bit of an organic kind of feel. Movement is important here. So from the front, maybe it carries off to the side. Maybe not that much, might be a little overkill. Maybe there's a branch or two coming off of it. Something like that. Maybe it goes the other way. Let's try that. Doesn't quite look right. Yeah. Just keeping that kind of organic and natural looking. All right, so I'm going to keep rounding that bowl. A little bit at a time. my goodness. Hard not to be grateful for weather like this, because it's like so, there's just soft breeze coming through. The leaves are just starting to fall. I'm not sure what trees are. Let's see, what are we looking at here? There's a maple that's starting to turn colors. Usually in our neighborhood, the aspens start turning colors before any of the other trees do. I don't know if that's normal or what, but it's really kind of a sign of the times. We don't quite have all the trees changing colors yet, but there's a few. There's a few. Those maples like to turn somewhat early, and they're some of the most vibrant trees. So one way you can kind of make this more uniform is by trying to make sure those planes are definite. And what I mean by that is, look at these facets. These facets can be looked at as gauges of symmetry. So if we go on one side of this center facet, create a plane. And then we go on the other side, we create another plane. We try to match these planes, all three of them, so they look fairly similar. It's a good way to keep symmetry by keeping things relatively flat. See that? We don't want to take big flat sections out of this bowl because it doesn't need to be flat, it needs to be round, but coming up with these facets helps us to keep things in symmetry a bit more. Because once you have smooth form, it's really hard to distinguish what's going on when you can't see the start and stop of the form. So I'm kind of using these longer cuts. Anyway, back to the drawing bowl. That's not funny. Okay, gonna continue to shape this bad boy and kind of create that little profile that we drew in here where it kind of comes in at the stem. So I'll do a little bit of a V cut, whereby I'll come in angling the tool slightly, pushing towards my other hand, but again, maintaining contact between the left and right hand for control. And then I'll take a slight angle equal but opposite to that other angle, and as they meet, the chip should fall out, but if it doesn't, just go back over those cuts until it does. And don't worry about a little messiness in that meeting point. You can always clean that up later. I'm going to repeat that and just kind of work this a bit down so that we can kind of get that nice bend in the spoon as the bowl meets the handle. And just take small chips at a time. All right, I like that. Okay. Next, I'm going to start to take this handle, start to shape it. I'm going to create a little bit more of a gradual form here. Yeah, that's cool. Or I guess we could go this way, come down with it. Just experimenting a little here. Well, I kind of like this. That's cool. I dig that. All right, so I'm going to start to thin the handle a bit. Go a little bit tighter on that transition from the bowl to the handle. A little bit less material there. Looking good. And I'm going to just come around and leave just a subtle border around the edge, not very much, but work my way around the bowl just a bit more, the base of the bowl, and kind of get a more consistent edge there. And really a slicing motion here can be beneficial as you kind of pull the wood through. It's going to allow that tool to travel much more easily through the wood. Look at that. Good. Little tiny border that we can remove. Of course we will remove. But this just helps us to keep things symmetrical. If you get rid of that little border edge, it makes it a little harder to see how far you've gone. Okay. Beautiful. Now this is a thick spoon, granted, but we're going to thin it out a bit more, and we can even bring that bowl out to the edge. In other words, widen the bowl just a little bit, as if we decide that we want to. I'm going to take a little break from it, and I'm going to work a bit on the handle, unorthodox as it may be. I'm going to take these corners, cut them down, a little bit of material at a time, remember, and then I'm going to work on that side profile. So it helps to work on one profile at a time. I'm going to work on the bottom profile first, in other words, really solidifying these lines or defining these shapes, making that a little darker. So getting rid of this, and then I'll turn it this way, and then we'll deal with this plane. So I'm leaving this plane intact for now so I can see my drawing later, but focusing on this bottom one. So I'm going to start by scooping out, again, bottom of the spoon, taking these corners, each corner, and kind of taking a little bit out, coming the equal but opposite direction, little scoop cuts, maintaining contact between the left and right hand, just moving through the material. Just like that. Beautiful. See that? Little scoop action there. Just creating some natural form. Good stuff. I'm going to take a little bit of that back off as it comes back up a bit. And, you know, this is really kind of less about ergonomics and more about fun. Really it is about kind of being artistic and expressing the design that you wish to create. And there's so many options, so many ways. If you want to see an incredible spoon carver, on Instagram, check out Giles, I believe it's Giles Newman, or Giles Newman. Amazing, amazing spoon carver. So I'm going to take these corners off. I'm pretty happy with that form. Maybe I'll come back just a little bit more. A little extra material here. Yeah, so we've got a little flow there. All right, so next, before I remove the top line here, I'm going to look at this front-facing profile. And of course, it's a little bit hard to see because my pencil marks are faint, but let me darken them up for you. So there you go. You can kind of see the forms that I'm creating there. So I'm going to start to remove from these spaces that need to be removed, these outside lines. So a little bit of a slicing motion there, taking a little bit at a time. Beautiful. Take that edge and just can already start to see a little bit of the flow we're building into it. Come along this side. How fun is that? Already starting to get some movement into that thing. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of darkness in the world, and there's a lot of controversy and just a lot of horrible, horrible things that happen in the news. And one of the things I love about art and creativity is it gives you a way to kind of sit and meditate and to reflect on the things that are important in life and the things you care about and the people you care about, and kind of allows you to escape in a way to all of the chaos, the madness that is the world, and to get into a state of being creative. And that's something that I really appreciate about carving and something that I'll always be grateful for. All right, now that we've got both profiles, the front and the side, I'm going to address that top shape here. Take this back just a little bit. And I think part of it is, I believe we're designed to be creative and to make things that are beautiful. And I think it's so fulfilling to be able to take some time out of your day and make something interesting and creative. Excuse me, all right. Carving really also it almost seems to contradict the chaos of life. It forces you to sit down, to slow down, to absorb the sort of tactile sensations of an edge going through a material. And that I really appreciate that sort of slow aspect of carving, when so much of my life is kind of fast and get this done, get that done, get moving, go here, go there. I think everyone's life can be a little bit like that. Okay. All right, I want to create a little bit of a branch coming off of this guy. So I'm going to come up with a little plane. I'm going to take this corner off. And then I'm going to make a V-cut in the back here. A little bit of a V-cut. And the goal is just to have a little bit of an offshoot of a branch coming off of the backside here, just to kind of make it look as though it's not just one solid piece. That's the goal, is to kind of make people forget about the block that you started with. So I'm creating a V-cut on the front area here, kind of at an angle into the corner. And then I'm going to make one at the butt, meaning the very back or bottom of the handle. And then going to take a little bit off of the back, the bottom section of the handle. Just kind of create this little branch coming off along the back side here. Make little V-cuts to kind of expose this little circle, if you will, off the back side. This little point or horn, and that's going to end up being kind of a branch. It's just a series of V-cuts, moving my way from the front, turning that bowl away from me, and then continuing to cut that V-cut all the way around. Like so. So notice the direction of that bowl as I'm carving this. It's moving towards us, or yeah, towards us. And I'm creating that V channel. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to create a little flat spot here. And then I'm going to remove the corners. We want to start to round this bad boy. Round it just a little bit. We don't want the branches to seem too blocky, because that wouldn't be natural looking at all. So we want to avoid that. We don't want to make this branch too small that it's really fragile and breaks off. But we also want to make it seem as though it's kind of a little bit lighter and not quite as blocky as it is now. So see how we're getting that branch to separate there? It's going to give us a very cool kind of organic feel. Take the corners off of this as well. Good stuff. I'm going to blend this branch into this main kind of trunk that is the handle. And you know, if you're really struggling to see how this should go, find a branch. Find a branch or look up in a tree and kind of appreciate how this whole thing works. Now, some folks in these videos say, Alec, I wish you'd move the camera a little closer. You know, you can actually zoom in on this video, and it's a very high resolution video. So you can actually go in, and there should be a setting. There is a setting. Oh, listen to that bird. What is that? Is that a red-winged blackbird? You bird people, tell me what that is. That cool. so you should be able to zoom in yourself. I'd rather actually keep it wider because if I go too close, a lot of times I end up moving around, and then the carving goes out of frame, and no one wants that. Okay, so I'm going to start taking these corners out, like so. Bringing this down. Going to put another little branch, say right here, create a little stop cut. A little stop cut, so kind of going at an angle, coming up to meeting that angle, creating this little flat plane, and then a little V cut on either side. It's going to expose a little kind of bump, and that's exactly what we're after, is a little bump right there. Just going to take a little stop cut alongside it, so it kind of exposes this sort of branch. Just like so. I'm just starting to get some character into this little guy. See that? Beautiful. Loving that. Kind of making this twisty, turny piece of branch-like material. Well, it is a branch. That's what we're going for, at least. I want it to look like a branch. But a fun branch, not just a boring straight stick. We want it to look like someone found a stick with a bowl attached to it. Kind of uncovering that little branch there. Little branch, although maybe we might be fine with just that. I'm gonna start to narrow this guy. Kind of neat. Really effectively, we're trying to get rid of these big kind of flat areas now. Some scooping cuts here, kind of turning the blade as I'm moving it through, and then coming the opposite direction to get that to kind of twist. Okay, now I just kind of shortened this branch, cut a little bit shorter, this one on the end here, and I'm just kind of creating some facets, moving around this guy to create a little bit of a twisting form. So just kind of coming around, and as I said, moving along, kind of turning the handle as I'm cutting, creating these facets. Again, notice that contact between the left and right hand. I'm really enjoying this knife. I've not used this Sloyd knife before from Flexcut, and it's quite good. It's nice. Okay. Sweet. Liking that. Kind of fun. Kind of sweet. All right, taking a quick break from that, let's go to the bowl again. I'm just gonna, decided to widen it out just a little bit. I'm gonna go along the edge here and just kind of move a little closer, thinning that edge. Okay, I'm gonna come along the blade and just kind of kiss the edge, just barely remove a little material from that edge line to maintain that nice form. A little bit of material, might be a little bit much there on that last cut, but that's okay. Beautiful. Back in with my blade, my hook knife. I think my wife's home. Can you hear that? Maybe you can't. Okay. Nice. Quite a big bowl on this one, which I like. Makes it again useful for scooping flour or maybe smaller quantities of some ingredient, maybe rice. More of a serving spoon of sorts. Okay, I'm going to come along the back side again. Get back to really prettying up that bowl, getting those facets nice and symmetrical, getting them a little longer looking. And just really pay attention to the flats of those facets, the shapes of those facets I mean to say, so that you can get things more symmetrical. Keep working my way around the bowl, just kind of removing a little bit at a time. Pay attention to that left and right side. We're very, very close to being done with this guy. Okay, one thing we can do that's kind of fun with this hook knife is actually kind of use it as a gouge to create some lines or little kind of concave grooves that follow that kind of spiraling of the branch that we're creating. So kind of using it to create a little channel, moving it one little bit at a time, all the way around, just like that. Okay, I'm going to take the knife and just take the sharp edge off of the bowl. Kind of round it over. And I'll get rid of the saw marks on the surface of this bowl lip here. Just like so. inside. Rounding that edge, looking pretty good. Okay, as I mentioned, take a little bit off the face here. There's that. Clean up some of these facets off camera, and I'll be right back. And there you have it, folks. Quite fun, simple, with a little complexity, a little extra design to it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm off to oil this puppy, and we'll see you guys in the next one.